Today's lovely model is Nikki and she's one of my clients. She booked me recently for her 40th birthday party and this is the makeup I created. I used a cleanser to remove any oils from Nikki's face and then I just added a bit of E45 to her skin. Nikki does tend to have more of a dry skin as opposed to an oily skin, so this works great as a base. I started off by applying Urban Decay's Primer Potion to Nikki's eyelids. I'm just using my fingers to apply it, but you can use the wand that comes with it or a brush, it makes no difference. Apply it to the entire lid right up to the brow and even under the lower lashes. One of my favourite primers to use on the skin is Porefessional by Benefit, and I just apply this to the T-zone, so across the forehead, down the nose, either side of the nose and just across the chin. Again, I prefer to use my fingers for this. I'm going straight in with the eye makeup as I'm applying airbrush as opposed to liquid foundation, and I'm applying a cream based eyeshadow by Benefit called Birthday Suit. It's a really lovely champagne sort of colour. Always try to apply cream products with a synthetic based brush, as you'll find if you're using any other sort of hair to apply cream products with, you'll find it will go clumpy within the brush and it doesn't blend very well. So I apply this colour over the lid up to the socket line. The next cream product is the Maybelline Tattoo 24-hour cream gel eyeshadow, and the shade I'm using is Taupe. I'm just applying this to the outer V of the eye. This is going to be the basis of the smoky effect to the eye. As you mature, you don't really want to wear a smoky eye higher than your socket line. It can look a bit drag. So apply the colours perpendicular to the highest point of your eye socket. And then with the use of a fluffy brush, just fade the colours out to nothing towards the brow bone. Nikki's got a nice amount of space on her eyelids, so you can really see the colours. But if you have small eyelids, then sometimes once you open your eyes, the colours can get lost. So applying a lot of the darker shades isn't always the best option. So if you're following the tutorial, feel free to stop at earlier stages with the colours and not apply so much of the darker shades or the black that I will be applying later on. Here I'm applying Shroom by MAC, which is a lighter sort of iridescent creamy shade. I'm applying that just at the centre of the lid. By doing this and applying it in line with just your pupil, you're opening your eyelid and making it look larger. This is because it reflects light. On an angle brush, I'm applying Brun by MAC, which is like a dark brown and it's a matte shade. And I'm applying it over the same area that I applied the Taupe by Maybelline. This is creating more of a smoke to the eye and also sandwiching the colours, therefore, as I always say, it will last longer. And it just gives more dimension. The matte colour over the shimmer has a really nice effect, but by using matte you're getting more of a contour to the eye. If it was shimmery brown, then again it will reflect colour, so it won't work the same way. As you can see, I'm pulling the colour up perpendicular to the highest point of Nikki's socket, and then I'm just using a fluffy brush just to blend that out. On that same angle brush, I'm applying Timeless Black, which is from the Maybelline Tattoo cream eyeshadows. On the outer third, I'm pulling it upwards, and then as it gets to the centre, I'm not pulling it up as high. I'm just running it right close to the lash line. Nikki's wearing eyelash extensions, so I'm being careful not to push it into the lash line like I normally would, as the oils can break down the glue. So before that black has time to set completely, use a fluffy brush just to blend those colours together. Here's a close-up of the other eye so you can see where I'm applying the colour up close. So again, apply it along the lash line, pulling up at the corners, and then just running it close to the lash line as you go towards the centre. Before applying this to the eyelid, I dab a little bit of the excess cream off onto my hand first, and then I use it. At this stage for the top lid, you might want to stop and this be dark enough for you, but where Nikki has a lot more space, we can afford to go darker along the lash line. With what products are just remaining on the brush, I like to just drag that along the front of the lash line. As I mentioned, I'm airbrushing the foundation on. If you'd been applying liquid foundation, you'd have applied this before you did your eyeshadow. I'm using Decay airbrush, which is a water-based foundation. I'm using about 5 drops of vanilla and 3 of the olive beige. Once I've back bubbled the colours together to mix them, I start on the blemishes on the face. As you can see, by pulling back ever so slightly on the trigger and at a closer range to the blemish, you just watch it disappear before your eyes. What I love about this way of covering up a blemish is that you're not dragging up any of the dry skin. It's really hygienic, and as you can see, it just works. Just watch this red one disappear. See? Gone. And then once the blemishes are covered, I literally go over the entire face in circular motions between 4 and 6 inches away from the face. As with regular foundation, I do the same. I cover the ears and take it down the neck. Nikki likes a little bit of extra coverage between her brows where her pores are. So I get her to raise her eyebrows up for me where I can spray, and then I get her to relax again, and then I continue to spray the face. If any of your clients have smile lines on the eyes, you can just use your fingers, just pull the skin taut and then spray and then release the skin again. and that will give you a more flawless, even coverage. Remember, you're looking to see the change in the skin, not to see the makeup. So here's a quick preview of the skin before and after. More flawless, blemish free, no redness. In keeping with neutral tones, we're going to take out the pinkiness of the eyes by using a cream pencil, and I'm using one by Kryolan. Gently tilt down your client's lower lid and apply the pencil along the waterline with even gentle pressure. Take that right from the inner corner to the outer. I'm adding a little bit of Bourjois Healthy Mix Concealer in light. Wiping off the excess concealer, I'm just using what's left on the brush just to run that under the lower lash line. I'm also wiping the brush underneath the outer edge of the eyes just to wipe away any fall down from the eyeshadow. On the same angle brush as earlier, I'm taking Brun from MAC just along the lower lashes. I'm running that colour from the outer edge and about 3/4 of the way across the lower lash line. And then keeping the brush on the angle, just pull that colour down a little bit, creating a bit more of a gradient. Then just to add to the softness, on a pencil brush I'm just taking a lighter brown than before and just running that underneath, and as you can see it really does make that gradient a lot softer. If you prefer a softer smoke, then you can skip this step. I've just mixed some black eyeliner with a little bit of mixing medium by Inglot, which is called Duraline. And on a fine liner brush, I'm just taking that across the top lash line. The reason I've chosen to use black eyeshadow as opposed to liquid liner is it's less harsh and you can blend it a little bit easier. I'm just using an angle brush just to gently pull that upwards. And if you put your thumb on the brow bone and pull the skin taut, you'll be able to blend it a little bit easier. When applying liquid liner or liner like I've done with eyeshadow to the inner corner of the eye, just get your model to look down to the left and then to the right, and that will pull the skin taut enough that you can run the liner across and it won't look all jaggedy. Moving on to the brows, I'm using Anastasia Brow Wiz and I'm using this in soft brown. I find powders give you a softer look and they're great for filling in the brows, but pencils are great for creating little hairlines, especially if your brows are quite sparse. Nikki's brows are very fair, but you can see the shape of them, so I'm literally just filling in around that shape and just defining them. When people have fair brows, I tend to use one or the other, whether it be pencil or powder. If someone's got quite dark brows, I like to use a combination of both. To help make the brow more of a focal point, I'm using Anastasia's Duality pencil, and this is a highlighter, and I'm chosen to use the matte shade as there's quite a shimmer to the eyelid already. So I'm just following underneath the brow and I'm just using a brush just to gently pull the colour down onto the eyelid so it just fades in and looks more like a natural highlight. You can see it really gives a nice clean line to the brow and really defines it. The other end of this pencil comes with a shimmery one and it's really pretty. So moving back onto the eyes, underneath that top liner you can see a little bit of the flesh that needs to be covered with the black. As I said before, Nikki does have eyelash extensions, so I'm not going in too tight with it like I would with someone who is wearing maybe a strip lash or just mascara, as the oil from the products really does break down that glue. So at this stage you'll curl your lashes, put your mascara on, you can apply a strip lash, maybe even just a quarter strip lash at the ends. To the extensions I've applied a black primer, which is 4 lash extensions, and then to the bottom lashes I'm using Ico's Skinny Lash Mascara. My preferred choice to apply this is using a steel tooth comb wand. My favourites are by Real Techniques and this one is a crown brush one. The reason I prefer this is you can get right to the root and then pull it down and it will really separate the lashes and you get less clumping. If you don't like a lot of mascara then just apply 1 coat, but Nikki likes a little bit more because her lashes are small, so we applied 2 coats. So back to the face. Before I set it with powder I like to do my contour and my blush etc. first, as once the translucent powder goes on it just tones everything down a little bit and everything blends nicer. So I'm applying the powder contour down the sides of the nose and in the hollows of the cheekbones. Be sure to tap off all the excess before you apply it to the face and then just work it in circular motions, just blending it in nicely. You don't really want to be able to see the makeup, you kind of want to just be able to see a nice contoured structure to your face. If you get any tackiness or any patching then use a flat top kabuki just to blend that in a little bit. This is a blusher by MAC, I'm just using it sparingly and I'm applying that just above where we've placed the contour, so it will sit just along the cheekbone. And again work that in circular motions, just distributing the colour evenly. As this is an early evening event, I just want to apply a little bit of bronzer by MAC, and I'm applying this to the places where the sun would hit your face naturally. So I like to do around the temples, a little bit across the forehead, down the centre of the nose and on the chin. Again, use this sparingly. Also, if your face feels tacky from foundation, be sure to powder before you apply this. Just take that down the neck as well, and also if your shoulders and arms are on show, it would be probably ideal just to use a big body brush and just take a little bit further down as well. I love this translucent powder. It's by M&S and it is a limited edition one. I'm not sure if you can pick it up anymore, but it's finely milled and it's really translucent and it's just brilliant. It doesn't flash back or anything. I just like to take that down the T-zone of the face, so across the forehead, down the nose, underneath the eyes, just to set any concealer that you might have put in place, down the chin, anywhere that's shiny that doesn't want to be, but you don't want to apply it all over the face because otherwise that can give quite a drying effect. This highlighter is by Anastasia. I just take that on a brush, I just dab it onto my arm, and then I just like to run that just on the highlights of the face, so above where you've applied the blush, sometimes along the brow bone, and maybe just a little bit on the cupid's bow of the lip. My favourite lip pencil to define lips is Stone by MAC. It's like a neutral brown shade, but it can really be applied lightly and then you can really blend it in with a lip brush. Try not to overdraw the lips. I like to draw literally on the line of the natural lip line. And as you can see with the brush, before I've applied any other lipstick or any other product, I'm blending that line into the lip. So it still defines it, but it's not visible. Be sure to line right to the corners of the lips. I'm using a really soft pink by MAC and it's called Angel. I'm just using my spatula to decant a little bit off, and I'm just using the brush just to apply that to the lips. As I work that colour in with the brush, I'm just going around the circumference of the lips and just blending it into that lip liner a little bit more. Now you can leave the lips without a gloss over the top, but I like to add a little bit just to the centre. Just gives a little bit of added shine. My preferred one is Dior because it's not sticky. So I'm just adding a little bit of extra blush and that's the look complete. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've been able to take some tips from it and create your own smoky eye. So thank you for watching. Bye!